What's up, guys? Hey, how we doing? I want to talk a little bit today about Jett Lawrence in putting together the single best season I've ever seen. And I'll break down a little bit of that. I'll give you a Hardy Munoz update. And I want to talk about the rule change. And I'm so glad. I got to give credit where credit is due, and I'll break that down. And then Jett Reynolds is being a little bit cryptic. Man, I feel bad for this kid. And I wish that well, I'll get into that. But first, I want to thank Complete Racing Solutions. You guys know Coach Rob. If you want to be on his elite team, get your resumes in. Epic Garage Designs. If you want to do anything for your garage, flooring, rack, slat wall, hit up Epic Garage Designs. Ride Strapped. You guys know Ride Strapped, the patriotic goggle company. So get your shirts, get your glasses, get your goggles, hit up Ride Strapped. And if you got to ship anything and you're tired of dealing with trucking companies, hit up Precision Transport. But all right, guys, let's get into this.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
First things first, I know a lot of you guys saw that crazy restart where they had to reset the 250 class, but what we didn't talk a lot about was Hardy Munoz. Hardy Munoz, HBI Racing Kawasaki rider. This dude rides, he kind of reminds me of RJ Hampshire, but just not at quite the same level as RJ. But he's had some massive head injuries. Like I said, he hit his head really hard at Colorado, and his face after this one was a bloody mess. And when you go unconscious for multiple minutes, I'm sorry, you got to take some time off. I love Hardy Munoz. I love his heart. I love everything about the way he just keeps charging and fighting. And boy, this guy takes a licking and keeps on ticking. But somebody step in there, sit him down for a little bit, let his brain recover. Just scratch 2023. Hardy, get ready for 2024. That's what I recommend you should do. And with that, his accident, I'll never be mad. I love that they stop the race when there's concern about somebody down on the track not moving. I will always err on the side of caution when it comes to this, because the last thing you want is a compounding a dude out and then somebody hits him, and it could be, you're always good to do that. But it did expose a rule that clearly was overlooked by AMA Pro Racing. Now, AMA Pro Racing is a different organization than AMA. AMA is in Ohio. AMA Pro Racing is essentially MX Sports rebranded. So MX Sports sanctions their own events under the AMA logo. But they never updated this rule. This is a rule, and they do, and I have talked to Davey in the past, and a lot of you guys were wondering why Hayden Deegan was able to get assistance in the first turn. Well, in Supercross, they made a rule that said you can get assistance in the first turn from your team. So just to stay unified, MX Sports also made that same rule for the outdoors, but they totally missed the restart. And like they said, 50 years of this sport, they've never had one go down like this. Like a complete restart after like 3 laps, not a big deal, but literally right before the halfway point. I mean, 30 seconds and it would have been a completed race. But what they're doing when they're talking about doing, obviously they're not going to implement it for the next round. But the chances of this happening again are slim to none. But I give them credit for acknowledging that the rule is wrong and it needs to be updated. They did enforce what's written in the rule book to a T, and I want to give them credit for that too. There was no gray area. It was black and white. This is how it reads. This is what we do. Even though it's unfair and a shitty rule, it's exactly what they had written in the rule book. So they followed it, and I will give them credit for that. So, everyone thinks I'm negative all the time. I'm giving MX Sports credit for following their rule book to a T and now addressing the rule book the way it should be. And the idea is to either do a stagger start like Supercross, but with 40 riders, it's a lot harder to do that. I mean, you stack out 40 riders, you go a long ways, So what they're talking about doing is maybe finding a way that they can drop like the inside gate, then just sequentially drop them all in a timed pattern, which, hey, I think that would be perfect. That would 100% fix this problem, and it would have been fair. It would have tightened up the pack. But hey, that happens in racing. It happens in auto racing. It happens in all forms of racing. When you have to stop, a yellow flag bunches them up. Shoot, NASCAR even does it. They do it like a competition yellow, just to bunch them up to make it more active. So I'm good with that. Props to you guys. Way to go. Now, Jett Lawrence, I'm telling you guys, this is the greatest season we've ever seen by a rider. Not just because of what he's doing and how he's doing it, the fact that the competition level is so high. Yes, it looks like they're depleted, but Aaron Plessinger is a former national champion. Adam Cianciarulo, former national champion, having arm injuries. Jason Anderson, Supercross champion. And these guys are so good. Chase Sexton took one of the greatest of all time, Eli Tomac, to the fringe last year. And I'm sorry, he's riding every bit as hard and as good as he did last year, and Jett is fighting him off. So we've had undefeated seasons before, but we've never had one with this competition level. And modern day motocross is different than it was even 10 years ago. The field is tighter. The bikes have gotten tighter. I honestly thought we'd never see this again because it's gotten so competitive at the top, and that just adds to what Jett is doing. This is beautiful, and if you think it's over, you're crazy. Chase Sexton has that look. Chase Sexton is one of the most determined riders that I've ever been around. Literally, I think this guy would smash his mom if she was in front of him. He wants to win, and he doesn't care how. He's willing. You know, they say like when fighters are going into the cage, the guy who's willing to die usually wins. Like I have no fallback. Every single time Chase lines up, he's ready to die. And that is a scary, scary competitor to have, especially when you get someone like Jett, he's already wrapped up the title. Now it's about getting into the SMX playoffs and making history and being the first one to win, the SMX race-off playoff rounds from Super Duper. But anyway, it is going to be fun. I'm excited. I hope he closes it out. I genuinely, like I said, sometimes you just get to see greatness. It's not very often. And, I can count the times in my life where I've seen somebody do something that was absolutely amazing. We are on the fringe of that. And I mean, just look at McGrath. McGrath had 14 of 15 Supercross wins. Think about it if he'd gone undefeated. It just changes everything. It really does. 20 years later, he wasn't undefeated. He went 14 of 15, which is good, but it just changes it. It really does. And I'm not trying to take away from what McGrath did because that was amazing, but it's just a different level when you never lose. It's something that's hard to do on any level of racing, let alone the highest level when you've got this assassin, the merchant of speed, Chase Sexton, coming after you. And he does not want this dropped on him. He does not want to be a guy who got a perfect season laid down on him. He has way too much pride, and especially now that he's leaving that team and going to KTM, you really want to go over to KTM and look back at your old team, and this dude just dropped an undefeated season on you. Trust me, this week he is just smoking out the ears, and he is going to give every single thing he has in Ironman. I think Jett closes it out with a 1-1, but I'm not. I am far from guaranteed. I feel like he's as susceptible this weekend as any weekend. And speaking of guys named Jett Reynolds, I feel so bad for this kid. This poor kid has been through the ringer. He was one of the winningest amateur riders we've ever seen. He was pretty much a sure fit to become a champion and be at least a top guy. And he hasn't even really sniffed anything good in the pros. And now he's posting cryptic things on his Instagram, like weird times. And I just feel bad for the kid. He needs a rebuild. I've been trying to get a hold of him. I've messaged him on Instagram. If anyone has his number, please, or you know him, let him know. I got some options for him. Let him reach out to me. I think that the talent doesn't go away. I just think this kid needs a mental and physical rebuild, and he could still have, the talent's there. He's really a good racer. And will he be the greatest of all time? No, but I think he can salvage a really good professional career. So remember, subscribe, guys. I appreciate it. The channel is killing it, and I can't say anything about it yet, but I am on the verge of some really big things. I'll be at Charlotte at the first round of Super Duper, and from there on, I'm working on closing a deal where I should be at the races almost every weekend, guys. So anyway, thanks, and I will catch you later.